Hi, I'm Roderick Jean-Charles.
My name is Jaron Bogle.
Hi, my name is Carlos Luna.
What have you gained from your experience working during the pandemic in the shelter? How did it change you?
I feel like this experience brought me a lot of knowledge. It opened up my eyes, and I was able to service a community that I've never worked with before.
I think the one thing I've truly gained is the appreciation for the homeless and what they have to go through. Of course, you have those people who don't want to be housed because of various personal reasons, but there's a lot of people out there who are just unfortunate, bad luck that happened to them, and they ended up on the street and have no place to go. So that was a thing I gained the most.
I'm a recreation professional and I gained so much medical training, mental health training, personal safety training. Everything was on the spot training. And again, I worked shelters for over a year. It was challenging. It was challenging to say the least. I saw so many physical altercations and unneeded violence. So many inappropriate acts of sexual behavior on the daily. I saw a lot of nudity. I saw more things than any one person should see, especially working for recreation and parks. And I saw it on a very regular basis.
COVID-19 has been a whirlwind. I'm sure for myself and many other people have had to adapt to many differences. But working as a shelter manager, it really changed me. I was really unaware of the homeless situation. I didn't realize how many homeless people there were because depending on the city, you don't really get to see it. And I really got to see that we have a serious homeless population, and we were able to help them. We were able to house them. We were able to give them the needs, help them with whatever needs they had. They didn't have a roof over their head. So I thought that was very, very positive.
What was the most challenging thing for you when answering the call to respond to this emergency? What has been the most rewarding aspect?
The unknown. We got called on this emergency, and because of COVID, of course, and no one knew how big COVID is going to be or where it was going to go. And having to answer this call is actually having to put your life on the line. Having to go there and put on this hazmat suit and mask and gloves and a face shield and forever, sanitizing our hands and keeping 6-10 feet away from these people who were homeless, who were living on the streets, who were in closed quarters, and having to come and work with them and be around them was really scary. And not knowing where it's going to go, if we're going to put our lives on the line and catch COVID, and actually, are we going to die from it? It was such unknown for the whole time that it was a really scary thing for us.
When we first got the call, it was definitely something that was very difficult. It was mixed emotions. You wanted to go out and help, but you're also very scared because you didn't know what direction COVID was going to go. We didn't have any answers in regards to what our department was going to do. All we knew is that we were being asked to go and service a community that we've never serviced before. And I'm happy I did it, but it was definitely something that was very scary.
I still remember when I got the call. I was at home. I had just gotten back from work. They said, "Hey, we need you to come if you're available to help set up a shelter." I said, "Yeah, count me in." They told me the directive. It was a homeless shelter for the needy. I went over there to 109th, helped set up the shelter. I was one of the first few that set up the shelters. I think there was 14 shelters at first, and then they expanded to more, but I was one of the first ones to go on call. I went and I made myself available because I knew people were in need. Luckily, I was in a position where I felt comfortable going. I know there was a lot of uncertainty, but I knew that people needed my help, and people needed my help, and I needed to be there to help them.
there was nothing that could have prepared any of us for what we experienced working shelter operations. Yes, the department had provided us with training on how to set up a shelter, how to run a shelter, numbers, all of that, all of the training necessary for a typical shelter. But, you know, as we all know, this was not any type of typical shelter situation. Like I said, there was no training that could have prepared for us, even if the department would have known ahead of time how it was going to go down. There's still no type of hands-on no type of training that would have fully prepared us for this, except for on-the-spot hands-on training, and that's basically what it was for us running the shelters.
Why was this important to you?
It was important to me because it needed to be done. I love helping people. I love being there for others. And I think it's important for as recreational professionals to step up for the city, for the country, for ourselves, to help others, to get these homeless people off the street, to provide shelter, to provide mental stimulation or food. It's stepping up doing this. It was really rewarding for me and for everyone who ended up doing it. A lot of my coworkers, like me, was afraid because we didn't know. But after a few weeks, after getting to know these people, it really opened up all of our hearts and made us feel really connected to them and really happy that we were the ones that put our lives on the front line to do this, to help with this pandemic.
Being a recreation professional, you help people in however you can, and I felt like me going there and helping them out was part of my job and my responsibility and duty as a person that is supposed to help the community.
As a recreation professional, how has your experience as a shelter worker changed your perspective on the unhoused?
It gave me more appreciation for the homeless. I realized they're people as well. You know, their problems is not that different from mine. And it reminded me when I was younger, when I was practically homeless, living couch to couch, and how close I could have been to them, or in that situation, living on the street. Unfortunately, maybe being on drugs or the issues that they go through.
Some of the most positive things that I will never forget is I definitely have a much better understanding of the homeless community, the challenges that they face, mental health issues, and at the time, despite all these challenges, these people really did. They became my family. Like I mentioned, without seeing my actual family for over a year and just working the shelter operations, these residents had truly become my family, and that's how they felt about me, that's how they felt about the other staff, that's how we felt about each other.
It definitely changed me, the perspective. In the past, you kind of see a homeless person on the side, you really know their story. So working with this homeless population, I was able to really get to know a lot of the residents. I don't like calling them the homeless. I call them as residents. They were residents at a recreation center. I treated them like any other person. They were very grateful.
Do you have a story you can share with us about your experience in the shelter?
There was a gentleman there. He was a sous chef, so it's not your typical person who you consider someone experiencing homelessness. But he was working a part-time job. He was just couch surfing throughout the pandemic, trying to find housing, and luckily he was able to find housing at Westwood Recreation Center during the shelter. And just hearing his side of the story and just kind of sharing with me that it was a great opportunity for him to start saving up some money, try to get back on his feet, and ultimately throughout the whole shelter he saved enough money where he was able to actually get an apartment, and eventually his part-time job led to a full-time job. So.
There was a man who ended up coming into this shelter that I was working in, and I think a few days before the pandemic hit, he was traveling from Texas to Washington State to go live with his son. He had all his belongings. His car broke down, and it got towed, and he didn't have any money, and everything was taken. He lost communication because he lost his phone, and he didn't know his son's phone number or address or anything, and he was so scared, and he didn't know what he could do. We were able to connect him with the Department of Mental Health. We did some personal research to try to find some information about his son, and we ended up reconnecting them. And he was a 70-year-old man who really didn't have a thing on him, and he just wanted to find his son. And we helped him connect and find his son. So that was a really rewarding thing.
This gentleman who was staying at our shelter came in and, stayed to himself for the most of the part, but started warming up to us and started getting very comfortable and started opening up about his life. He mentioned that he had been in jail and he had a 4-year-old son in a different state, and he really wanted to get his life together. And he was taking advantage of every services that was provided on site. He mentioned he wanted to get an education, so we helped him enroll in Santa Monica College and was taking classes virtually while being at the shelter. He needed a job. We connected him to the right people, and he started working in downtown and cleaning up Skid Row and doing everything that he possibly could to ensure that he got his life in order. He definitely put a lot of work and effort into everything that he was doing, and we continuously would cheer him on and check in on him. We would have like those daily meetings where it was like, how's it going, how are you? And I think those conversations really helped them and pushed them do what he wanted to do. The last day that he was there, we actually were so happy for him because he was doing exactly what he said he was going to do, which was get a job, which he did, continue towards his education, which he was doing, and get a home. He got a home. And when he left, it was bittersweet because we were very happy to see him, do what he wanted to do, but it was sad because, he basically became part of our daily lives. We cheered him on as he walked away and did a little chant for him, and he was definitely very grateful. At the end, right before he left, he gave us a letter stating, thank you for everything. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
We had police raids for people who were murder suspects that were hiding out in our shelter and staying with us as our residents. I had the federal marshals come and raid our shelter because once we had entered one of our residents' name into our system, this is how the federal marshals found this person in our database, because the name popped up, and they came and from across state and raided our shelter and arrested him. Multiple child abuse offender, multiple charges. He had been on the run for over a year. His one and only call he got from the LA County Jail, because that's where they housed him for the time being, because then they were supposed to transport him across state lines. His one and only phone call, he called me. He called me at the park. Because of COVID restrictions at the time, even though he had been captured and was non-permanently being housed in LA County Jail before they could transport him across the lines back to the state where he was convicted or is being convicted. Because of the COVID restrictions, they were not allowing inmates to be transported across state, or there was some type of rule or law because of COVID. And because of that, he actually was released from prison and came straight to the park to find me. So there was I had quite a few very real, very scary, very life-changing experiences.
We were at 109th. 109th is close to Augustus Hawkins, which is a mental health institution. But they were going there to get mental health, and then whenever they were done receiving their mental health or either getting medications, they were sending them to 109. So we had a different population that was dealing with mental health issues. And you know what? I really didn't have a lot of background on mental health, and um, didn't really understand it until after I started dealing with it. So one of the shelter residents came to 109th and was dealing with some alcohol issues. He was going through withdrawals. Um, he was an elderly Hispanic man. He said through conversation, he mentioned to me that before he got to the shelter, he considered taking his life because he had lost his wife right before the pandemic started, and he really didn't know what to do. He didn't have any family. That he moved from Guatemala to Mexico and then to the United States, and really didn't have anyone support besides the wife. Once that he got comfortable, opened up to me, and I said, "Oh, we're here for you, whatever you need." And the first thing he asked me was if I had an extra pair of shoes, and I was like, "Oh, like I'm gonna have to go look for some." And I was like, "You know what? I have a few pair. I'm gonna make sure I take them." So I took him a brand new pair of shoes, and he was so thankful. He said, "Oh, Cam, no one's ever given me these nice pair of shoes before. I appreciate you so much. You're the best." And then that kind of just opened up a relationship between that resident and myself. Like I said, he didn't have anyone here in the United States. He did have family out in Guatemala. I was able, through Facebook, able to connect the daughter and the dad. He's like, "Hey, this is my daughter's name. Can you help me look for her?" And I said, "Well, I'm not really supposed to, but I really did see that he was struggling, so I logged into my personal Facebook, and we searched until we were able to find her. We were able to get a hold of her. We were able to get in contact with the family, and that kind of turned his mental health around, because he really didn't know what was going on with his family outside, that was living in another country. And once he found out that they were doing better, then his kind of mental stress kind of decreased, and we were able to help him de-escalate how he was feeling. He began to kind of get reincorporate himself into his life. He used to sell peanuts before the pandemic started, and I motivated him again. I know I wasn't supposed to do it, but he's like, "Hey, all I need is $50. Let me borrow $50, and I promise you that I will get them back to you. And I'm gonna sell peanuts. I'm gonna start selling peanuts again." And I said, I was hesitant, but I said, "You know what? I know you're gonna try to change your life around." So I donated him $50. The next day, he got up early. He took the bus downtown. He got a big bag of peanuts, and he got Ziploc bags, and he started selling them. He was going to outside markets. He was selling the peanuts. He was selling them to the residents. That really motivated him. It got him going, and it just it was very, very. I remember the man, and you know what? I still keep in contact with him. I'm just so happy that he was able to turn his life around, and this person really benefited from it. He's back and living in his in Guatemala. The last time I reached out to him, he was doing good. He's living with his daughter. He's got a better perspective in life, and we were able to do that.
In the height of the pandemic, what was going through your brain being assigned to a shelter while everyone else was asked to stay home and social distance?
I witnessed so many heart attacks right in front of me. I'm holding the person in my arms. Seizures, grandma seizures, stabbing victims, blunt force trauma, head injuries. I had lots of schizophrenic residents, or I should say residents with schizophrenia. You name it, I had it. At my first initial shelter, which is the shelter that I was at for the longest, I dealt with all of that.
How did you manage your mental health during this time? What helped you cope?
Camaraderie. All of my fellow peers and Brecken Park friends coming in there, having that to talk about a situation, about what's going on in other parks, what was going on there, and being able to, get away when our shift was over and refresh ourselves. We had long days. We worked 12-hour days, either day or night, 4 days a week, and so having the 3 days off really helped us because it was a longer weekend, a longer extension for our recovery, and that helped me cope. But the biggest thing is having friends and family around and being able to talk to them about my experience and knowing that other people were going through the same thing I was going through.
It was extremely challenging in so many ways, as I'm sure, anybody could imagine, but it definitely did affect my mental health. I started having night terrors, woke up in the middle of the night with sweats, started to, feel like once in a while somebody was following me home because there were so many issues at the shelter that I was at. But I do have to say that probably the most even beyond that, it was, the most challenging aspect was the fact that at the time I lived alone, and because of COVID, I couldn't see my family. So for over a solid year, I did not see one member of my family. I didn't really see anybody. So I would go to work, I would work the shelter, and then I would go home and sleep, and then back to the shelter because we were on the 12-hour shifts. I didn't see my mom, my dad, brother, sister, newborn niece, newborn nephew, anybody. So yes, I spoke with everybody on FaceTime, but I feel like I was not quite alone, but one of the few people that because I lived alone, I was truly isolated. So that was definitely tough. Believe me, it truly was an amazing positive experience. I felt like in shelter operations, we made more of a difference in the lives of the community at that time than anybody else possibly could have. Everybody else, with people staying home and businesses having to close down and all of that, it was us, police, fire, doctors, and nurses. Recreation and parks, saving the world.
So definitely, this experience was not easy, but extremely rewarding, and I would do it all over again if I had to, but hopefully not.